We are never really alone. The sense of isolation is only an illusion. To address this malaise, our human love needs to translate into a love that exists just for the sake of loving. To be conscious of the divine presence is the only panacea. Aspiration is essential. The author describes a simple practice to help make this shift. Loneliness is a perplexing and painful state in which to find oneself. It can be very distressing to live without the companionship and support of our fellow human beings. To lose a soulmate would be even more unbearable if one didn't recognize the immortal spirit behind everything and everyone. Acknowledging this truth is the first step out of this condition. Loneliness is an illusory state because we are all innately divine and one with everything. We may be alone, but we are never really alone. If you experience loneliness, you are standing on a bridge between two worlds, one of lack, the other of plenitude. The lack creates a vacuum which will be filled to overflowing if one adopts a true and conscious approach. Because of this, loneliness, in many ways, can often offer an ideal platform for the spiritual life. The emptiness has to be filled somehow. What else can assuage this aching sadness than to have the divine permanently lodged inside our hearts? This is the only true cure. The truth is, the divine is always there, but we are not conscious. Alone time, in today's world, is generally regarded as something to be avoided. It is quite radical to consider it as an opportunity. It takes a great deal of strength and a measure of integrality to expand and grow in one's own solitary atmosphere. One needs to be centered and intact, not to regress. When we find ourselves alone, we sometimes search for props. Generally, these episodes are not used wisely. We tend to indulge our senses. We might drink or eat too much. We interact on social media and generate virtual relationships in an attempt to blot out the void. As a reflex, we switch on the television in order to produce new images and noises. Any distraction is viewed as company, anything to prevent the nightmare of being on one's own. Anything but this silence. Anything to remove the isolation. The prospect and reality of foregoing these accessories is considered unbearable. However, they only deaden us inside and slowly deepen the pit in which we live. The yearning for company, a yearning for human company, is embedded in us from the moment we are born. This single experience captures us for life. Then, gradually, we become embedded in the social fabric and become magnets for all kinds of conditionings, so much so, that we might even interpret our alone time as a result of inferiority. Heeding the herd mentality is what we have to swim against. The isolation might lead to further morbidities and leave a lingering sense of self-pity. We have to continuously step back and disengage from the continual flux in order to discover our inner friend, and this is when we begin to expand and grow. But this conditioning is deeply ingrained in us. It helps to observe this phenomenon closely if it ever comes to visit you. It happened that I caught this vibration quite tangibly this morning as I said goodbye to my family who were leaving to work in town, a good distance from where we live. There was a momentary and instantaneous intrusion of emptiness and trepidation when this happened. A long day lay ahead and something in me suddenly balked at the prospect. The observation made a true difference. It somehow diffused the automatic reaction. One tiny spot of consciousness can have this effect. One morsel of knowledge can resolve any problem. Every human condition can ultimately be processed if one is attentive, surrendering and conscious. We just need to be awake and watch ourselves. Actually, I find my most dolorous moments of loneliness have occurred when I am not on my own. It used to come, and still occasionally does, when I am in the company of people I just don't resonate with. There might be a mutual lack of affection, not even flicker of acknowledgement. The relationship might have outlived its purpose and reached a dead end. Without any mutual recognition comes isolation. It reflects and reinforces the void that exists inside. Everything seems so hollow when one feels trapped like this. It really scars the ego. Because of this, one might feel the greatest sense of loneliness when one is in a crowd. Imagine you are in a large conference hall, amid throngs of people, all with their own agendas. You feel lost as your eyes desperately search for other eyes which might offer the faintest flicker of response or warmth. When one starts to grow in consciousness, one gets very sensitive to any surrounding sense of suffocation. When one finds oneself living amid mundane society or company, a loneliness will invariably appear. This happens because one is identifying with the illusion and not the rich resources that lie inside. To be honest, it seems very real. From my experience, whenever I go to the West, I face this prospect of isolation. The focus always needs to be adjusted and shifted. We need to fix ourselves always on the truth.